Hey, this is Chris. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to Popcorn Finance, the show where we discuss finance in about the time it takes to make a bag of popcorn. And I feel like right now, the time we're sitting in, it's July of 2022. There's a lot of talk about careers and what's going on with the job market and how do I, ask for more money because inflation is high and there's all these other factors going on. Or maybe I'm just underpaid and I know I should be paid more for what I do. But that can be a very difficult thing to approach. And I think a lot of times we get in our own way and in our own heads thinking about how we should approach this. And so I know I've done this many times myself, and I wanted to bring in someone who knows what they're talking about, who talks about this stuff all the time and can give us all some guidance, even give me some guidance too when it comes to this topic of just asking for more money in the job that you're in. So joining me today, one of my favorite people, one of the, I think, smartest, most intelligent people in the personal finance space. That's Mandi Woodruff-Santos. She is just killing it when it comes to career advice. If you don't know, she goes by Mandi Money. She's a co-host of Brown Ambition podcast and also the founder of Mandi Money Maker. So Mandi, how's it going today?
It's such a pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of it's been nonstop career convos ever since the pandemic, and we are in such an interesting moment right now with the economy, and these questions are more relevant than ever, so I'm ready to get into it. People got to know.
Yeah, so I appreciate you hopping on here and answering this question because I got this question in from Stephanie. She actually reached out to me on Instagram. So anyone listening, you can always do that. Send me a question if you got one on your mind, and let's hear what you wanted to know.
Chris, I think that if there's one thing I'd be interested in hearing about, it would be how to ask for a raise. So, killing it at a job, how do you actually use language to build a case for yourself to get more money out of the company that you're working for? I know earlier in the podcast, you talked about how to negotiate once you've been given a job offer. But now, how do you go into that meeting prepared and ready to win and asking for more revenue from your company? Thanks so much for all that you do.
So, Mandi,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, how do you approach this? If you're in a job, you don't want to, ruin things, I'm sure, but you also know I got to get more money.
Yeah, like you said, inflation is at record highs. I mean, we're talking like the latest data was over 9% is how much of an increase common goods have. And depending on, where you live and what your lifestyle is, that rate could be even higher. So to your point, like workers have like they're not just feeling like they need more money. It's like, no, I really need more money. Unfortunately, when you're going into a negotiation with your current employer, just saying things are more expensive for me right now is not necessarily going to move people to give a raise. Typically, those types of adjustments when it comes to taking inflation into account and doing like company wide wage increases, those happen like once a year and companies do them company wide. They don't tend to do that on a one on one basis. Like it's not really fair, right? Because if inflation's impacting you, it's impacting all of your colleagues, right? I think for this year, what their employees are looking at getting like a 4% wage increase. So 4% is a lot less than 9%. So clearly it's not going to
Yeah.
be enough. So if you're someone who's like, I'm going to shoot my shot, I want to go in there and put my best foot forward, asking for a raise, I would lead with the quality of your work and the impact of your work over the last, let's say you're having the conversation now, mid year, over the last 6 months. If it's been longer than that since you've had a raise, over that same period of time. So I would really make a case for why has your work performance warranted a raise, pointing out if you've taken on any additional responsibilities, if the scope of your role has changed. As you know, with the great reshuffling or great resignation, a lot of folks, there's been a lot of turnover, right? So I think it's given people who have been quote unquote left behind after their colleagues have quit. No, listen, it's fine to quit. I'm the queen of quitting myself, but you do leave colleagues, needing to cover for you sometimes. So if you're someone who's been taking on extra work because colleagues have left and you're helping bridge gaps before they hire, a replacement, if at all, then you can also, use that as part of your case for asking for a raise. But here's the key here. You have to be realistic. Realistically, in right now in our economy, you're seeing big companies. I mean, like Twitter, Redfin, these big companies who are having layoffs. Some are even having hiring freezes. And I believe if you're not seeing layoffs or hiring freezes, what a lot of companies are doing is kind of having a pause. Like, let's just pause on hiring and wage increases, cost of living adjustments. Let's have a pause on promotions, things like that, until we sort of see how the economy shakes out. And if you're walking into your boss's office, I just want you to have that in the back of your mind because there could be a chance that it's out of their hands and they're like, look, they've put a hold on the budget that we thought we had for raises for now, but make the case anyway. I wouldn't wait. At least then you're letting them know that you think you're worth more and you can revisit that conversation down the line and at least you will have already started to make that case for yourself.
Are there any things you should keep in mind when you're approaching your existing boss about a raise? Like, are there any things that some things you definitely should do, or maybe some things you definitely shouldn't do in those situations?
Right. I mean, I think you choose your timing wisely. So, I think for some people it's more difficult if there's not a pre-scheduled mid-year check-in. But that being said, I mean, there's no rules. They want us to think that there's a rule. You can only get promoted mid-year, only get promoted at the annual review. No, 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 no. If you have another job offer, they can make stuff happen any old time during the year.
Oh yeah,
So I would
all type of new
say,
rules open up then.
yeah. I would say get some time on your manager's schedule and then just go in, and just be really, come prepared. I would say, don't come with like a vague ask, like, oh, I just want to get paid more. Well, how much more and why? Actually have those things written down. I've had career coaching clients of mine. I mean, we've worked on like a Google Doc that they just kind of come with. And then I've had people I know who've done like a whole PowerPoint slide, have a deck, couple of slides long, but really demonstrating like what has been the impact of your work on your team over that period of time. So because of this, we grew X percent. Because of this, we brought in X dollars more revenue. Because of, actions I took, we prevented a loss of X, So really demonstrating your impact is going to be you're honestly making it easier for them because anything that they're going to have to make a case to their manager, to HR, whoever the ultimate gatekeepers are of compensation increases, they're going to have to make that case themselves. So if you can't convince them, they're going to have a harder time convincing others. And no one toots our own horns better than we do at the end of the day, especially if your manager has multiple direct reports. Some managers just don't, again, they don't have the time to be like, really doing a study of individuals and like who's killing it. And, like you have to force them to look at it and going into that conversation with all those bullet points and data points ready for them, it's going to make your case all that much stronger.
Oh, I love that tip because yeah, all the bosses I've worked for, whether good or bad, they always love when you take work off of their plate. So if you already did all the background for them and they can just take whatever you gave them and use that, they're like, okay, sure. That makes it a much easier
Yeah.
ask
It's a lot easier
than
to
just saying,
forward an email.
yeah, right. They just put their name at the top of the email. Here you go, and then they're done. So
No, 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 no. It's
no,
forward. See below.
see, well,
I hate that shit.
they don't have to make any edits to the email.
Yeah, see below. Then you have to like go and click and click. And what's that attachment? And like, please. Anyway, but yes, absolutely. Managers can be very lazy. Make it easier on them. Be the squeaky wheel. It's okay. At a time like this, like you probably understand if you're doing so much work, they probably can't afford to lose you. And they certainly won't just fire someone because they asked for a promotion or a raise. So what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, no, that's true. You gotta. Sometimes it feels scary, but you got to put yourself out there sometimes
Yeah.
to get what you deserve. So, Mandy, thank you so much for all this great advice. I feel like I got some stuff I'm going to hold on to if I'm in that situation again where I need to ask for a raise. I'm breaking out this podcast episode and listening back to your advice. And Stephanie, hopefully this answers your question. And if you had anything else, please feel free to write back in, and I'll reach back out to Mandy and get some more of this great advice. But before we get out of here, though, what's going on with you? Where can people go find out what you got going on? Go connect with you, find out more of all this great career advice.
Yeah, you can find me at mandymoney.com. That's Mandy with an I. Check out my podcast, Brown Ambition, where we talk about career and wealth building. And if you want to apply, I have a group coaching community called the Mandy Money Makers, which is exclusively focused on what I call BIPOC baddies. So women of color specifically, and helping them really accelerate their own career and their financial growth. And Mandy Money Makers is a small group coaching community. And I do that once every few months. So you go to mandymoney.com for all the details on how you can apply.
I'll make sure all that goes in the show notes. So if anyone's listening, you got something going on, go in there, check it out, and connect with Mandy. Thank you so much. It's always great speaking with you. And you'll be back. I got another question for you that I want to go over about recession-proofing your job. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, go check out the Popcorn Finance Podcast. It's a short form show where I discuss finance and about the time it takes to make a bag of popcorn. Or you know what? You can just stick around here and watch another video. Either way, I appreciate you joining me here for another bag of popcorn. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.